It's the latest health buzzword proposed as a magic cure for everything from dementia to a low libido. But is it safe or even advisable to take supplementary testosterone? I'm Samantha Selinger-Morris, and you're listening to The Morning Edition from The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. Today, explainer reporter Madeleine Heffernan on what the experts want us to know and what this latest cultural obsession says about us right now. It's August the 4th. Welcome, Madeleine, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm so excited to speak to you this morning because testosterone has become an absolute cultural phenomenon. So I guess just tell us, why are so many people buzzing about it now?
Well, I think there are lots of reasons. One is that men and women use it, so it's a huge market. It's obviously big in the US. We have a Secretary of Health who says he uses it for anti-aging.
This, of course, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes. We have a Secretary of War who has just introduced that they will test the levels of military members for both men and women, 30 and over. And they've actually, as well in the US, introduced testosterone ways to boost your own testosterone in their nutrition guidelines over there as well. So it's huge in the US. It's really big in the UK because of, I guess, the idea that women going through menopause and perimenopause need a lot of support. And does testosterone provide that? And here in Australia, we have a really interesting history with testosterone because we were the first country to ever regulate and approve the use of testosterone just for women.
Okay, that is so interesting. And I guess broadly, before we get into all of the claims, because there are many about what testosterone can do to men or women, I just wanted to ask you, is there a cultural or political drive or impetus perhaps behind this trend? Like, why do we think this is happening now?
So interesting, all the kind of cultural stuff behind it. I think the internet is obviously playing a huge part in this. If you're online, and pretty much all of us are, you're probably seeing a lot of testosterone content. If you're a young man or even an older man, there's a lot to do with strength and vitality and what it is to be a man, I suppose.
5 signs that you have low testosterone.
If you do not know your testosterone level, it is critical to know this as a man. If you want some help getting some blood work done, comment the word TRT down in the comments below, and I'll send you the information on how to do just that.
If any of this sounds like you, I'm here to help. I created a free step-by-step training to help you boost your testosterone levels naturally and get your lean, fit, and energetic body back.
And for women, I guess we've grown up with perhaps mothers who went through menopause in a quiet way, and that's not happening anymore. So there's a lot of discussion about how can I get through this sort of tricky period, and why do I have to pay so much for medication when men don't have to pay very much for testosterone, which is subsidised by the PBS. So that's a big part of the discussion as well.
And just to give this some context, I mean, just how many people are actually now taking supplementary testosterone? Like, is this a niche prescription or has it become mainstream?
I wouldn't say it's mainstream yet, although this is probably a case where the discussion is more vocal than the actual usage. Having said that, a lot of men in particular take it, and we might not know about it because they source it unofficially. We know in Australia about 20,000 women take Androfem, which is the female-specific testosterone. And then men, there are 14 testosterone products on the PBS. The numbers are actually not that high, but they have been on the increase because we're an ageing population and testosterone levels do decline with age.
Okay, so let's get into, I guess, what claims we're hearing either from medical professionals or for people just spurking it online as to what testosterone can actually do for people. Like, what are we hearing?
Well, in some parts of the world, testosterone has become a kind of shorthand for masculinity. So the claims around it are basically to do with strength, sexual power, well-being, vitality. There is some truth to all that as well because, you know, testosterone's been around for a long, long time. And we know that it does actually increase muscle mass and it does help with sexual performance. But I suppose it's shifted from being seen as kind of an old man product to a younger man's product. And the concern is that testosterone is being touted towards men who don't need it, who don't have a deficiency. They're young, they have very healthy levels, but the idea is that you're feeling tired, you've got low energy, maybe your sex drive is a bit off, maybe you have a testosterone deficiency. So that is the concern among the experts that we spoke to. And for women, it's really being promoted as a cure for everything from brain fog to low energy, all of the stuff that kind of comes through perimenopause. But really, the research only shows that it's helpful for one thing for women.
Okay, so let's get into this. I mean, what are the experts actually saying? What claims do stack up? How does testosterone help? And in what ways for both men and women? Like, what does the science actually tell us?
Well, look, there's a lot of research going into this. So it is a field that will continue to provide new answers, I suppose. But at the moment, as it stands, testosterone is only useful for postmenopausal women and improving their sex drive. So how receptive they are to sex and how much they enjoy it. But people say, well, it's actually useful for a lot more than that. And for men, it is useful for muscle mass. It is useful for libido. It's essential and very safe, endocrinologists say, who are hormone specialists, very safe for men and useful for men, their sexual health and their general well-being for men who don't produce enough. And they tend to be older, they tend to have diabetes, and they tend to be overweight.
And so then for men who have sufficient testosterone levels naturally, is there any benefit for them taking supplementary testosterone?
It's a tricky one because the way we measure testosterone differs throughout the world. So different countries have different measures of what is clinically low testosterone. But generally speaking, testosterone is a drug that has a very high placebo effect. So the fact that people are taking it, they tend to say that they're receiving a lot of benefits from it. So that's one major issue with the drug, I suppose. And the second thing is that there are actually a lot of side effects from it too, whether it's acne or it's irritability, it's hair loss. And then ranging to the more serious side effects, if you're a young man and you're taking it and you don't need it, some of the effects can be permanent, including low or no fertility. So that's why all the doctors, all the medical experts that we spoke to said that it's really essential for men in particular that if they're concerned about their testosterone, that they need to be tested and have their usage followed by a professional. Otherwise, they risk perhaps infertility down the track.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the potential dangers in both men and women taking testosterone, because some of them are quite severe. You mentioned some of them there, but in men, you've written that evidence shows that if you take too much, men can suffer testicular shrinkage, breast development, reduced sperm production, or infertility. And in women, a permanently deepened voice, changes in menstruation, uncomfortable clitoral enlargement can also make women irritable and hot-headed. And both men and women can suffer hair loss, irritability, and acne. So I guess my question for you is, do you think that is there a wide understanding, I guess, do you think, about the dangers of this, hormone that is being touted as something of a cure-all for all kinds of conditions?
Perhaps not. And the reason that there are so many of these side effects sort of coming through is because, not in Australia, because we have a women's product regulated here, but in other markets, including in the US, women are taking the male product, which means they're taking too much. And that's why we're seeing these horrendous side effects. There are side effects anyway. I mean, they're safe, but there are side effects from taking the women's product. But when you take the man's product and you take too much, that's when these horrible side effects come. And I guess the reason why we're seeing so many side effects in men as well is because many are taking it outside of medical supervision and bought from unofficial sources, apps or contacts through gyms or whatever it is. And they don't know what they're taking. They don't know what levels they're taking. So that's why we're seeing these stories of sort of horrendous side effects.
After the break.
These women have regained their sex drive in a big way and are really enjoying their sex life, probably for the first time in a long time.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you about something on that point, because you had something fascinating in your piece, which is that one Sydney-sider, Belinda, told you that some of her friends have figured out what they called a hack to get their GP to prescribe them with testosterone for off-label reasons. So you've already gone into the science behind it, which is that there's one medical reason for which testosterone supplements are approved for women, and that is specifically for postmenopausal women who are distressed about having a low libido. So tell us what these women were wanting testosterone for, and how are they actually managing to get it for conditions for which this medicine is not approved?
I spoke to Dr. Karina Severin, who's a women's health general practitioner in Melbourne and Sydney. Patients are coming to her and they want testosterone for everything from muscle strength to mood, brain fog, cognition, general vitality, well-being, dementia. She says, you name it, someone will have said testosterone is the magical cure for that. And she says that patients will be very, very insistent that that's what they want. She's not the only one. A lot of women are going into their doctor's clinic and saying, I want testosterone. And doctors have different ways of dealing with that request. Look, a lot of women say they're really tired and they want energy and they believe that testosterone will give it to them, but they know that that is not an approved reason for getting it. So they go to their GP and say, look, I have a low libido. I used to have a great sex drive and now I don't, and it's really affecting my relationship. It's really affecting my mood. And then the GP will ask, a series of questions and generally prescribe it, even if that woman is getting testosterone for a different reason. Now, that's called off-label prescription, and it's probably quite common for testosterone. Now, the reason that the women are doing that is because they've heard word of mouth and anecdotally that testosterone is really helpful for reasons beyond low libido that is distressing. But a lot of doctors that we spoke to had mixed feelings about that because they say that the research doesn't show that it's helpful for energy. And if there is any kind of boost, it's perhaps from placebo.
Right. Okay. And so I'm just curious because we're speaking about this now, but you've written a multi-thousand word explainer on this. It's a very deep dive. I'm dying to know, what were you most surprised to discover about testosterone use?
Well, I loved writing it. It was fascinating. I think the most interesting thing was how testosterone might be used in the future. I found that really fascinating. We know there's sort of unmet demand already for vitality and well-being and sex drive, but then we also know that there's a lot of studies going on right now about the idea of using testosterone to offset some of the lean muscle mass that gets lost when people take Ozempic and weight loss drugs. So Michael Buckley, who's the CEO of Lawley, which makes testosterone here in Australia, he believes in the future, after studies and regulators tick it off, he believes in the future that we will be using testosterone when we take Ozempic, which means we lose the fat, but we don't lose all the muscle. I think that's really fascinating. There will be a huge market, obviously, if it comes to pass. The other idea that's really strong, particularly among women who are huge fans of testosterone, is the idea of adding testosterone to hormonal treatment therapy in the future. That's the idea of testosterone being the missing hormone, I suppose. So at the moment, you'll take your estrogen, your progesterone, and then perhaps in the future, you'll take testosterone as well to help you manage that kind of difficult period.
But that is, again, that would just be to help women's libido, because my understanding from your piece is that any benefits other than for libido are actually unproven.
Well, that's true, although that might change in the future. Look, there is research looking at whether testosterone is helpful to women in other ways as well, and whether testosterone will be helpful for women and their libido earlier in life, before menopause. So that might change, but at the moment, yes, that's all we know at the moment. It's only helpful for women and their libido post-menopause.
And also, I should sort of flag as well, I thought this was quite fascinating, that Sydney sexual health physician that you spoke to, this is Dr. Terry Ferrand, she said that about half of her female patients who take testosterone discontinue it after a trial. So does that mean that even though it is proven to help boost postmenopausal women's low libido, that actually it doesn't do that for everybody?
Yes is the answer. However, I would say in terms of libido, it does help, but not all that much. So it's not like you've got no sex drive and then you have a huge sex drive. Maybe you've got a little bit of a sex drive. Maybe you say yes next time. So I suppose it's quite a subtle change.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you a question because we mentioned just before that for most women, it sounds like the positive impact they get from taking testosterone is relatively mild, perhaps, in comparison with men who are low in testosterone and they're taking it. But you did quote one writer in your explainer, this is Susan Dominus, who spoke about women pursuing dramatic highs. So can you just, tell us a little bit about what she was talking about there?
Yes. So these women have regained their sex drive in a big way and are really enjoying their sex life probably for the first time in a long time. And so their sex drive has gone through the roof, and I guess they're feeling amazing because they're having orgasms and they're having a lot of sex. In Australia, it's probably not so pronounced because we have the women's products. So we're getting women appropriate doses, which means maybe the sex drive is a bit lower on testosterone. But in the US, multiple orgasms, multiple side effects.
Wow. And that's because, again, they are taking the men's testosterone as opposed to the women-specific testosterone medication.
That's right. Having said that, in Australia, I spoke to one GP who said that a lot of women got through menopause, their sex drive has sort of dried up. They start taking testosterone and it's great. It is great for some women. It's wonderful. It's great for their relationship that they've got their sex drive back and they feel like it's a bit of reward for, all the hormonal changes that they've gone through over the past 10 years and now they feel like they can kind of enjoy their bodies and their sex lives again.
Wow. That helps us understand really what's reasonable for women to perhaps expect that they might get if they take testosterone and if they actually need it. What about men? What's the upshot? Who is it actually advisable for?
Well, about 1 in 200 men have clinically low testosterone. That's not a small number of men. And then there's a further 1 in 600 men who have an extra X chromosome and they need it. So these people need it and it's essential for them. It will help them with their sex lives, help them with their muscle mass, with their bones, with their energy. So I guess the message of the people that I spoke to was if you have concerns, go to your GP, talk about it. Don't source it somewhere else and get tested multiple times. And there are lots of reasons why you might have low energy. There are lots of reasons why you might be fatigued or irritable. It's not necessarily to do with testosterone. And testosterone does decline with age, but it's not necessarily a problem. So even if your testosterone levels are declining, if it doesn't bother you, you don't need to medicalize it by getting treatment. Testosterone is only needed if it is clinically low and it's bothering you. If the symptoms are bothering you and it comes up in the test that you're clinically low, yes, take it. But if it's not bothering you, it's not a problem. There's no need to worry and be fretting about your testosterone levels.
And I do have one follow-up question because I get the sense from our discussion that it can be quite helpful for some women, but it's not necessarily a massive boost, in particular for sexual function or sex drive. But when it comes to the men, you had one health researcher, this is Benjamin Bonenti at the University of Queensland, and he has analyzed testosterone use amongst men, and he said that it's like day and night when they get that function back, and I think he was talking about a boosted libido and the easing of low mood. So am I correct to have gleaned that perhaps for men it can be a much greater impact than when women use it supplementary wise?
I think that's right, Samantha. I think all the studies for women have shown that it's quite slight, but for men it can make a huge difference. It is their primary sex hormone, so that makes sense. That's not to say that every man uses it, but if you are clinically low, yes, getting it to that normal, healthy level can really improve quality of life. Having said that, there are ways of improving testosterone levels without taking the hormone, and that involves weight loss and sleep and stress management. So one of the endocrinologists that I spoke to, Carolyn Allen, she talks about the fact that for women, menopause is non-negotiable. It happens and all these hormonal changes come with that. But for men, they actually have a lot of agency in terms of how they manage their hormones. So if they have a healthy diet, if they sleep well, if they manage their stress, their hormones are a lot smoother and they can control them better than women can. So that's great news for men. I think it's really empowering for them.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much, Madeline, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today's episode was produced by Josh Towers. Our executive producer is Tammy Mills, and our podcasts are overseen by Lisa Muxworthy and Tom McKendrick. If you like our show, follow The Morning Edition and leave a review for us on Apple or Spotify. Thanks for listening.